Eliot Bernstein.
Sorry.
At this point in time, Bernstein, Mr. Bernstein.
Sorry.
Hey, Mr. Bernstein.
Yes, sir.
And the last witness after that is Susan McCormick. Mr. Bernstein.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me time to tell my story today. Before we start, I did notice that Alan Friedberg was here from the Disciplinary Committee. I filed some complaints against him several months ago.
Friedberg, you still here or you left?
Yes.
Hey, Mr. Friedberg, how you doing?
And so I'd like the committee to look into where the missing complaints against him and Mr. Reardon are. They were filed several months ago. There's procedures to this. They're not following those. So if you could maybe find out where the complaints are at this time, that would be great. Okay.
Yes.
You'll
take care of that for me, right?
I didn't catch his first name.
Eliot Bernstein. Thank you. My story involves widespread corruption in the New York courts and New York investigatory bodies that have utterly failed in their civic duties to protect my rights, and in fact have become the actual nemesis that blocks my rights.
Right.
My name is Eliot Bernstein. I reside in Boca Raton, Florida, and I flew here to New York for the first hearings on June 8th and was prepared to testify when the coup occurred. I've traveled here under a medical treatment program to tell you about the saga of my company's Iviewit and what has earned the moniker Patentgate and its relation to the whistleblower case of Christine Andersen involving the New York courts and the disciplinary. I remind all of you of the conflict of interest disclosure forms I sent to this body and request that any and all conflicts be appropriately disclosed during the hearings or immediately hereafter. I am a husband and the father of 3 beautiful children, boys, and I'm also an inventor of the Iviewit technologies, which involve video and image compression, commonly referred to as mathematical scaling formulas, which are used on virtually all digital imaging and video devices. For example, the Hubble Space Telescope, my personal favorite, providing views into the universe and time like never seen before, using a technology that allows you to zoom on images without pixelation, as it was commonly referred to prior to my solving for that. The technologies are used by every internet service provider in the world that hosts a video, every computer that's playing a video. All digital television service providers use it. Mass of defense applications, such as space and flight simulators, use the technologies. Medical imaging devices use the technologies. Mapping programs, such as Google Earth, Google Maps, Google Street View, all use my technologies. Of course, I'm not getting paid for any of this, by the way. And the reason for that is because I hired patent lawyers. And we'll get into that. My technologies are now the subject of a $1 trillion, yes, $1 trillion lawsuit in federal court here in New York State as a result of theft, fraud, and other wrongful actions against my companies and myself, including death threats and an attempted murder. Yes, an attempted murder against my family by way of a car bombing of our family minivan in Boynton Beach, Florida, Iraq, mind you, as my wife Candace and I were preparing to file papers against these same folks. Thus, please note the seriousness of my claims here, as attempted murder is a very serious charge. Full pictorial evidence of the car bombing, which was so strong it took out 3 cars next to it, can be found at www.iviewit.tv. It should be noted that the crimes to steal my intellectual properties were committed by my trusted lawyers and accountants, whom were retained to protect my inventions and instead fraudulently filed my inventions in others' names including the patent attorney's own name. One patent attorney putting 90+ patents into his own name, Gary Monkers, while retained by my company, during the time he was retained by my company. Yes, a patent attorney patenting his client's inventions in his own name, who it appears became more inventive than Edison after meeting me. You may think after hearing about a car bombing that safety is my #1 concern, but it's not. Bringing down the corruption that's infested.
Galashaw, we're here. We don't need the cameras. I know you're videotaping everything, but I don't think you need to have that camera of those two gentlemen. So.
Well, I'm making a documentary.
No, I know you're making a documentary, but you know this is a hearing, although it's open to the public, and we want to continue with these hearings. All right, Mr. Galashaw.
Gallison.
Gallison. I'm sorry, Mr. Gallison.
I'm sorry, I do think it's my right.
I know that I've allowed you to do that for many times.
It's my right, and you have to allow me to.
I can understand that.
Exercise my rights.
I can understand that, but at the same time, I don't want it to become a nuisance to a lot of people in here. Okay?
I don't think it's a nuisance to anybody. It's not a camera that shoots beams or anything. It just takes the picture.
I wish you would allow the gentleman to continue documenting this hearing. It's not distracting anyone. He's quiet.
No, that's right. Let me make it clear. There's no problem documenting because we're having documenting. But if you're documenting this hearing, yes. But if you're singling out individuals, I have a problem with it. Okay? So that's my problem.
Well,
so if you want me to,
lots of people.
If you want me to continue to have hearings and keep this matter open to the public, I will, but I won't settle for...
Sir, with all respect, if I film these two gentlemen, you will stop having hearings. If I don't film the gentlemen, you will continue having hearings?
Yes.
Sounds like
Does anybody else find that strange and perhaps illegal?
Yeah.
Sounds like
No,
court.
I'm allowing this testimony. He should allow me
We pick this
my
up
right
after me because I've got limited time here.
Fargo. Okay, I've got enough of that anyway.
Thank you. Gams first.
Again, I was saying, you think a car bombing is the important thing to me in protecting my children, but it's not. What's really important is bringing down this disgusting corruption in the courts, by lawyers, by judges. And it's out of control at this point. So my first priority is to pave the way for my children so that they don't have to pick up the battle and fight these I had criminals that just came. Thank you, somebody, because it came to my head.
I agree.
Glad I didn't say, but you know, if we don't stop them, it's going to be our kids stopping them. So
It's going to get worse.
that's right. And so let me continue on. It should be noted here that information has surfaced from another Florida businessman, one of Florida's wealthiest individuals, a 70-plus-year-old Monty Friedkin, that these very same criminals, disguised as lawyers from Proskauer and Foley Lardner, had in fact pulled a similar attempted heist of his intellectual properties immediately prior to preying upon me and my companies, exhibiting an alleged criminal enterprise cloaked as law firms and lawyers stealing inventions from inventors. This was the basis for my filing a RICO action against the entities comprising the criminal enterprise, as it was learned that several law firms and lawyers involved in the Friedkin attempted theft and my own were working together. Later it was learned that these powerfully connected law firms and lawyers had penetrated deep within the United States Patent Office and other government agencies, and that part of the criminal enterprise operates to block due process of any victims that may challenge them, infiltrating courts or investigatory agencies to block complaints against them, similar to what the whistleblower Christine Anderson has previously testified about regarding obstruction of justice for favored lawyers within the department, destruction of documents, threats, coercion, etc. In fact, Anderson, my hero, in her original complaints, mentions the Iviewit companies in her original lawsuit filing as one of the reasons leading to physical abuse and other crimes against her. In fact, my federal $1 trillion lawsuit was marked legally related by federal district court judge Sheriff Shindlin to federal whistleblower case Anderson, who worked as a principal attorney at the Departmental Disciplinary Committee. As you should be aware, the Andersen whistleblower case has been slated for a public trial, currently slated for October 13th. Multiple attorneys regulated by the courts of New York, and specifically the New York First Department, have been involved in the Iviewit matters for nearly 10 years. Going back to 1998, when my technologies were first being tested, used, and in the process of securing patents and related intellectual property rights to protect them. The technologies were tested and used at Real 3D Ink Labs located on Lockheed Martin property in Orlando, Florida. Real 3D at the time was owned by Lockheed, the Intel Corporation, and Silicon Graphics. It should be noted here that Lockheed is the largest purveyor of digital imaging and video technologies on the planet Earth. Leading engineers at Real 3D who tested and used my technologies deemed them priceless, while other experts in the industry called them the holy grail of the internet, including favorable comments from Hassan Mia, an industry-recognized expert at the CAA Intel Multimedia Labs, which took the internet from a text-based medium to one with rich multimedia, which previously was only banner ads and very small grainy images. Video really didn't exist in any usable form for internet applications due to the bandwidth limitations. The inventions were backbone in nature by providing the mathematical formula that permitted scaling and compression of video and solving for pixel distortion, and also simultaneously reduced bandwidth usage by 75%. Now, please just think for a moment that 10 years ago, the technologies created a 75% increase in available bandwidth for transmission across the internet and television, which allowed video to be streamed or downloaded at full frame rate capabilities commonly found today on every website. And due to the ability to transmit using the technologies at much lower bandwidths, the technologies open the door for markets entirely new, such as internet video, cell phone videos, and video conferencing systems through the internet. Prior, thought impossible. As for the effect the technologies had on television, for example, the bandwidth savings from scaling video from the prior interlacing methods used since the invention of television essentially permitted 75% more channels for content distribution on television. And I'm sure all of you can remember about 10 years ago, your channel bandwidth went up and your cable channels increased dramatically. That was due to the inventions.
Thank you.
Therefore, you have more Yankee games, more DVD channels.
You're the man responsible for all that.
I am.
Thank you.
I'm the man responsible, but not getting paid yet. But that we're working on that. Okay. Let me just skip because I know you guys are on a time frame. Technology is used on everything. Digital, you know, we already went through all that. Enter Proskauer Rose, the law firm. Quickly.
Disclaimer. I used to work for him.
Yes, I understand, and I appreciate your upfront honesty and disclosure with that. By the way, that's a sign that's missing in the legal profession today.
Transparency.
The conflicts of interest that are rampant, in my case, will blow you away here. I mean, this is some stuff. We find the head of the New York State Bar at one point, former Stephen Crane, handling complaints against himself at the First Department DDC while he's an officer of the DDC, with Tom Cahill covering it up. And thank God for another hero in this world, Catherine O'Hagan Wolf. She exposed it. She told me when she caught them lying and playing these games to go file a complaint with the First Department. I'll get to that in a moment. Let me take back to Proskauer. Quickly on the scene in Boca at the invention time was Proskauer Rose to patent the technologies. Now, they didn't have a patent division at the time, but they didn't tell me that. They told me they were going back to New York to check with their, New York offices if they could secure patents for me. What they did, for example, it was represented to the Iviewit company initially that attorney Kenneth Rubenstein was a Proskauer partner. To the contrary, reports showed Rubenstein was at the law firm Meltzer Lippy on Long Island at the time, one of the many named defendants in my $1 trillion RICO antitrust suit.
What's the status of that RICO case?
It's at the Second Circuit.
Okay, so just to, come on, Mr. Nieves, you know, this is light. We don't want to be in darkness. So what I want to find out is just getting, what you're saying is the misconduct that was initiated by your attorneys. And since that period of time, you have made complaints to the disciplinary committee with respect to these attorneys?
Oh, absolutely.
And what's happened?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about. At the federal patent bar, they're under investigation. In the New York courts, they got letters of recommendation. I don't know if that, explains the difference of what's going on here, but under the same information that was presented to Eliot Motes, who's the director of the Office of Enrollment and Discipline, which oversights patent bar attorneys, when he looked at the damning information, such as patents in the wrong people's names, and the lawyers handing out intellectual property dockets to Wachovia Bank and hosts of other investors that were patently false and didn't match up with the documents on file at the patent office. In fact, on some patents that they had listed as my patents, I can't even get access to the information right now on those patents because they weren't filed in my name. I'm not the owner, I'm not the inventor, and I'm not the assignee. So Mr. Motes has directed me to take up action with Dianne Feinstein, which I have, and to get those patents released to me so we can change the inventors, but because of privacy laws, I'm blocked right now, so we need an act of Congress to change that, and hopefully you can help me get that. Dianne Feinstein has been working on it and has contacted several of the federal authorities. The FBI, the case investigator appears missing at this time with my files, according to the FBI. I'm only allowed to talk to the OPR of the FBI. Glenn Fine has referred me. Are you familiar with Mr. Fine? He's the Inspector General of the Department of Justice. And so other agencies are, other than he's missing, which seems a little hokey to me. I don't think he actually is missing with car bombing files, etc. And it was my understanding that he was going to Washington to work with Mr. Motes, who confirmed that the FBI was joining him on an investigation of lawyers who are committing fraud upon the United States Patent Office. It's a heavy crime. It's not just fraud against Eliot Bernstein and his family and shareholders. It's a crime against the United States by these lawyers. And penetrating the Patent Office is the end of free commerce in America if they're successful at it. In fact, the attorney that we were talking about from Proskauer, Kenneth Rubenstein, has created a patent pool, an anti-competitive, monopolistic patent pool, which has stolen my technologies, commonly referred to as MPEG. Mr. Rubenstein, while acting as my counsel, first he was misrepresented. Let me get back to my statement because it'll help right here. It turns out that Kenneth Rubenstein was an attorney admitted and regulated by the New York First Department. He was simultaneously involved with MPEG's patent pool that he was acting as in-house counsel for and was one of the founders of, while advising Iviewit companies on their intellectual properties as retained patent counsel, which posed a competitive threat to his pools, my technologies. In fact, it might have extincted the MPEG-LA technologies. And so Rubenstein, Proskauer, and Meltzer failed to put up any China wall to protect me, and instead did the exact opposite and allowed MPEG to use my IP for their benefit while using anti-competitive monopolistic practices to eliminate the inventors, like myself. No wonder the Justice Department has historically broken up patent pooling schemes using antitrust regulations, as this form of pooling works to deny ma and pa inventors of their rights. And in the past, there have even been allegations of pooling schemes actually in the business of murdering inventors to steal their inventions or other such heinous crimes. Rubenstein, though, was initially misrepresented as a Proskauer partner. Once we discovered through investors, I believe from Goldman Sachs, that he was with Meltzer instead, Proskauer quickly purchased or acquired Rubenstein and the entire Meltzer department except Ray Joa, the guy who put the 90 patents in his name. And when they acquired Rubenstein, they acquired control of the MPEG patent pool. So now my lawyers are controlling a patent pool that's stealing my technology, and they're profiting from it.
So, I mean, just to wrap it up,
This year. This year?
no, right now. You're in pending litigation. You have made complaints. Rest assured, you don't think the complaints have been thoroughly followed through.
No, I think Christine Anderson's right. They threw him in the garbage, shredded him, and then they beat her up to shut up about it.
Okay.
That's what I really think. But if you want to get into how this relates to the Bernard Madoff scandal, the Mark Dreyer scandal, and all of these massive financial scandals, you should let me continue, because it also, what these guys at the First Department are doing by, I'm now suing the First Department, 4,700 lawyers, a few judges, a few Supreme Courts, a whole lot of people involved in it. But what these clowns back here are doing to you is they're putting this state at $1 trillion plus liability. And I don't think any of them are properly reporting the liabilities to state auditors and regulators. And you're going to have a Madoff times 10,000 occur as liability to the state of New York. All because these guys are failing their duties. I mean, they're not either, but whatever. The bar should be a drinking establishment. Okay, that's fine. You wanted a suggestion? I'm going to make a suggestion. I don't know what in God's name these lawyers, and you're a lawyer, so I think you'll understand what I'm about to say. Blow up the Bar Association in the literal sense. Destroy it, and then make every single violation of an attorney ethic or judicial canon, whatever you want to call these things, violations of law. And then send in some hard pipe hitting investigator who hates lawyers to investigate the lawyers and then prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. Because I don't know who these people think they are, but I pay their salaries. And in situations like this, I would fire them. They all should be fired and imprisoned for the nonsense they've been pulled.
All right. I'll let you go off to Mr. Raddick. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Well done, Mr. Bernstein.
All right, we don't need any.
Well done, Mr. Bernstein.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have some sense of decorum here. Please. The last person, Susan McCormick, Ms. McCormick, the last person for the day.
Are we coming back tomorrow?
Thank you very much. Squeezed you in. You have 5 minutes.
Do you know how to do that?
Thank you very much, Ms. McCormick.
Yeah, do you know how to do it?
I can tell you do that.
Yeah. This currently, I think.
Senator, I have my assistant with me, Patrick Hanley. He's done a lot of research on this case. I'll try to make it very brief.
I'm not sure right now.
This is a tragedy that has involved my late husband's estate, who died 21 years ago. It was a sizable estate. My husband's wishes in his will were simply not carried out for many reasons, but briefly, I'll try to give you my grievances and a couple major points in a short time. I trusted Bankers Trust Company and the law firm of White & Case since they wined and dined my husband and myself many times and filed into our home to discuss the will. You can imagine how I trusted them. I am a widow, main beneficiary, executrix, and I might add a concert pianist, Steinway artist, trying to build a career. I emphasize pianist because it was a large part of my life. After performing in Atlanta, Georgia, 1 year after my husband's death, I was invited by Evar Shabranovsky to perform on a tour in Georgia, Russia, representing the United States. And a film was made of this tour. I accepted, and that's when Bankers Trust Company and White & Case schemed behind closed doors since I wasn't present. A year later, I was invited again to make a world tour performing for heads of countries in Europe and North Africa with former President Jimmy Carter and his wife Rosa as a representative for the United States. I then had to regretfully turn it down because I saw what schemes were going on in the estate. In 1996, we went to a friend of my husband's, Ralph Martinelli, who publishes newspapers in Westchester County. He spoke to surrogate judge Albert Emanuele about the McCormick estate, who reviewed the file and told the publisher 2 major points were wrong. At that time, the file was 1 inch thick. Now it's hundreds of boxes. The first point that I want to make was that White & Case, the purported estate attorney, after the permanent letters testamentary were issued, filed a petition for repayment of a loan owed to Bankers Trust Company by my husband. Judge Emanuele said once White & Case did that, they represented Bankers Trust, not the estate. Could not represent the estate. White & Case never revealed this fact to me as a legal executrix. In May 1995, the illegal executor, Bankers Trust Company, engineered the payment of $250,000 to their law firm, White & Case, as legal fees, to which I objected. Now, the second point the judge would not reveal to Mr. Martinelli, who said if you would not reveal the second point, he would oppose him when he ran for re-election in his papers. Judge Emanuele offered Mr. Martinelli legal ads, which Mr. Martinelli flatly refused. Emanuele lost the election. Now, the second point, if you remember in all our courts, it's in God we trust. Where do we see that? Yes, in the courtrooms. I believe God was with me and is with me when we accidentally, in early 2004, came across the original of the permanent letters testamentary dated January 25, 1989 for my husband's estate. They listed Bankers Trust Company of New York as the corporate fiduciary. New York State banking records reveal that there was no Bankers Trust Company of New York in existence until more than 10 years later on September 7, 1999. This is the second point that Judge Emanuele would not reveal. The court records have been changed, but they cannot change the permanent letters testamentary. Bankers Trust Company, Deutsche Bank, has no legal standing, but with the help of their attorneys, they continue like a rogue, drunken elephant to violate me. When Judge Anthony Scarpino of Westchester Surrogate Court became surrogate in 2001, we discovered he had worked for Bankers Trust Company in the past. But even though we had requested that he disqualify or recuse himself, he would not until more than 2 years later, due to the fact that I had a front page news article regarding this matter in one of our major newspapers in New York. After Judge Scarpino's recusal, my case was transferred to Dutchess County. Papers were filed to deal with Bankers Trust Company, Deutsche Bank, and they have been sitting for 5 years with no action by the court. The bank is currently represented by the law firm of Pillsbury Winthrop. I've openly picketed and I've protested about what was going on to educate people about our whole corrupt judicial system and the dirty players. The third point, on June 4, 1999, Deutsche Bank purchased Bankers Trust Company. On July 26, 1999, it was sentenced, convicted of 3 felonies in the Southern District of New York. As you know, a felon cannot serve as a fiduciary.
That's right.
We now know that the bank and their attorneys repeatedly, desperately petitioned to obtain a certificate of relief from disabilities simultaneously with the conviction. However, the parole board issued one more than 4 months later in December 1999. So you see, they had no certificate of relief for over 4 months. I sent a representative to Germany twice to attend the Deutsche Bank shareholding meeting and offered a shareholder's proposal. He was closely monitored, and in spite of my good faith, no results were forthcoming. Recent media reports reveal that Deutsche Bank spied on activist stockholders and others. Remember, through all these years, to the present day, I received no money from the residual estate Part B and did not get my full legacy, which my husband stated I was to receive immediately after his death.
So, Ms. McCormick, basically, have you been able to obtain anything from the estate or nothing at all?
No, it was in 2 parts. One was an outright gift from my husband, my house, and our paintings. That was given to me. After 3 years, I finally asked them. I didn't get the deeds to my house. And then there was a part B.
This is Westchester County?
Yes,
Okay.
Surrogate, Emanuele and Scarpino. Then the other part of it, the residual estate, consisted of stocks and bonds, buildings my husband owned. It was a sizable estate. I got nothing from that.
Is the estate still active, or what you're saying is all this assets in the estate have been pilfered? Well,
It's still active. Yes.
it's still active?
Yes.
So those assets are still within the estate?
They've been depleted, yes.
When you say depleted by who?
I guess the bank, I can go on here. I've had four sets of attorneys who never discovered the letters testamentary, possibly because they did not want to embarrass any judge, the bank, or fellow attorneys.
No, I understand that, but
okay.
I don't want to. I just want you to explain to me. You know, I can read your statement, but I
Well,
just want
if
you
we
to
get into that, then you could speak 2 weeks about this thing, all the dirty things they did, how they got rid of buildings.
But what I want to know is, when you found all this out, where did you go to complain or make complaints? Investigations
I
can
have
be
filed
done.
2 complaints with the First Department Disciplinary Committee that went nowhere. And I will be filing a 3rd one shortly. And we'll
When you
see
say
what
they didn't
happens.
go anywhere, you mean you just got back a notice saying?
Never heard. Never heard.
You never heard, or did you get anything back in writing indicating that they investigated and they discovered nothing?
You answer that.
I might, Senator, the first complaint was filed in 1998 or 1999, and basically they said we got a postcard, then we got a letter about only 6 months later, indicated that there was nothing there to investigate. The second complaint, well documented, was filed in 2005, and we received nothing, and it fell into a black hole.
Was there any accounting of the assets and how they were depleted and how much were they depleted by?
There was an accounting finally in 1996, 7 years later, when I started picketing, protesting.
So when you started out, what was the?
I didn't sign the accounting.
Okay, what was initially? What did you think the estate was worth? And when you got that bogus accounting, where was it at that time?
Initially, one of the attorneys told the children that it was $43 million.
Right.
Then it went down gradually, and they wrote it in at the IRS for $17 million. So and currently it's about $1 million or $500,000. I don't know.
Currently?
Yeah, they have some money there, but they haven't done anything for 5 years.
When you say they haven't done, who do you mean they haven't?
Since it was transferred to Dutchess County, my lawyer had put in a motion, I guess, and it was never answered.
So the complaints that you had filed with the First Department, the Disciplinary, the First Department, I know the first one you indicated there was no action. Were there subsequent complaints filed?
Yes, Senator, there was a second complaint filed, as I said, in 2005.
And what happened to that complaint?
We never got any indication. We
When you say no indication, did you get any correspondence back from them?
Negative, sir.
You got no correspondence?
Negative. And when
None
we tried-
whatsoever?
And when we tried to find out by telephone, they declined any acknowledgement at all. They said.
Do you know who you spoke to or in communication with?
We'd have to go back and look at the
What I need you to go back, I need you to get me that information so I can go directly to the first department.
No, it's not Judicial District.
No, the first department. We filed with the first
They
department.
filed with the first department.
Because the first department was where the attorneys were.
Okay.
And in addition to that, that's part of what
What I need to do is, if you can get me that information.
Mrs. McCormick additionally filed a federal lawsuit that became related to Christine Anderson's whistleblower suit in the Southern District of New York. And it's not that we believe that the documents, the complaint was basically shredded. And we don't want to be in a position of presenting a copy of it, and they should be in a position to present a copy of their records. What I'm saying, just to make it simple, in other words, we have a copy of what we filed, but they should be the ones, the disciplinary committee, the first department should be the ones to produce those records. We should, the onus shouldn't be on us.
No, I'm not saying that, you know what, but in this instance, I need that information, so, you know, because it's very important, as Senator Perkins was saying earlier, when you're making allegations, give me what you have, so then this is what I do the hearings for, so I can follow up with those agencies or those departments to find out.
Mrs. McCormick is currently suing them in federal court. That's part of the related case to
We'll take care of it.
Well, whatever information you could provide me, Ms. McCormick, I would appreciate it because I would like to follow up.
All right. So do you want me just to finish my lines here?
There's no need for you to finish your lines, but I just want you to get to the gist of it. What would you like me? What would you like this committee to do? Or what would you like to come out of this?
Well, I think that I should be made whole by, you know, this. I've gone through hell. They ruined my music world, my art world. They've ruined my whole life. They can't give me 20 years of my life back, can they? They can't give me my career back. I mean, I've gone through hell, and I picketed and protested because I want people to know. I hope another widow doesn't go through the hell that I'm going through and what I've gone through, and how they try to sanction you and do everything they can against you. Take your houses, they threaten me, they take all my possessions, whatever house, my house, I have a co-op in Florida that my husband left me, that was flooded. They did things to me. When you say he has spies, I don't know what they're doing to me, but that's a question.
Mr. McCormick, if you could get me that information as quickly as
But I
possible.
will be either writing a book or I'll perhaps it could be a movie. I'm going to do something about making this public.
No, and I think that's what these hearings have been, to try to make these issues public. But I need the information that you have. It would be great so I can follow up in my own regard, because you're not the only one. I heard quite a few things about Westchester County and everything else in the Saturday court. So I would love to follow up on that. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I just want to hold on. I see hands raised. I know this is why we raise the hand. I understand that because we had a list for everybody, and I'm at the end of the list.
Last time you said you talked to me.
I was supposed to speak.
When I spoke to Tim, you told me I was on the list. For some reason I wasn't on the list.
No, finish.
That's true.
On my list?
I've spoken to Tim at length, and the list of the individuals we had X amount of slots that were
I was there, but I didn't get to speak.
we have priorities to individuals
Yeah.
that were active, but I was waiting for.
All right, hold on, ladies, 1 second. Hold on. Everybody, hold on. Please.
See, I did something.
Everybody to step back, please.
No, go ahead. You don't have to. Go ahead. Take your time. No, we got it. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. I have, it's 3:20. I gotta end this hearing. Okay?
Senator wants to make comments. Would you let him make comments?
You have another hearing, Senator?
No, there will be another hearing. No. This is not the last hearing.
Okay.
There will be other hearings. So this is just a hearing for today. There will be an additional hearing.
Do we have further notice when the hearing?
No, you will have further notice. Mr. Spots will notify everybody. We're looking to have a hearing hopefully sometime next month to finish up everything. This is not the last hearing.
Here in New York.
The next one will be the last one here in New York, since we got a tremendous crowd. So,
Senator, this morning you mentioned the formation of a task force. Do you have any?
we'll work on that task force. By the time we come back the next time, we will have that task force structure up and running. I can't. Hold on, everyone. We will. It's on the websites. We send out public notices. So those who want to testify at the next hearing, just Zakia, if you can get a list of those individuals. Zakia's right there. Raise your hand, Zakia. So put the list down, and we'll make sure the next hearing will hopefully be here at the end of next month.
Senator Sampson, did I hear you say the task force will be up and running by the time we have?
By the time we get back here next month,
year,
we'll have the parameters for the task force.
Thank you.
All right. Hold on.
Please step back. We're not going to answer any more questions unless you sit down and step back. Step back.
I just want to take the rest of my time.
Go on the other side.
Hold tight, everybody. Hold tight. Relax. Zakia will take the information, prepare for the next hearing. Hold on, listen, 1 second. We're gonna listen to me. We're gonna get the information. If you have any written testimony, whatever it is, you can just leave it right here.
Sorry.
Put it right here. Lisa will make sure she gets it, and we'll move forward.
Can I just put on record of tomorrow's news, a decision that's already been made weeks ago?
We understand.
That hasn't even been heard yet.
Everybody. This is a very tough crowd. Just leave the documentation. I will follow the next hearing. Thank you.
Here's to Senator Sampson. Thank you. Better get back in his what? In his